afternoon. I'm Al McFarlane. Welcome to the Conversation with Al McFarlane. Glad to be here and glad to have you along as well. Thank you for checking us out, for being with us. We want you to invite all of your friends, everybody you know, to join us in this conversation. Today is Friday, and Fridays we do what we call the Healing Circle. I'm joined by colleagues, my leaders in the field of health and mental health in particular, Dr. Bravada Garrett Akansanya and Dr. Oliver Williams. And we have a great conversation every week. We talk to people around the country, around the world about what it means to be healed and be a healer as well. How do we heal our community? How do we heal humanity? We believe it's doable. We can do it. We simply have to be focused and trained and avail ourselves of the magnificent resources that are in community with us. Well, before I bring Dr. B in for the opening of the program, our ceremony, I want to invite people to subscribe, like, and share. We want to grow our subscriber base. Right now, we're just north, I think, of around 1,200 or close to it. Our goal is to move quickly to 1,500 and then to 2,000 and then exponentially beyond that. We want to grow this audience, this community, and your being here is critical to that. And if you're here, that says volumes. But if you know people that enjoy the conversation the way you do, that can shape the conversation, shape the discussion the way you can and the way you do, invite them to join, to subscribe as well. And if you just tuned in and are not a subscriber, I've got an incentive for you, particularly if you're here in Minnesota. We have complimentary tickets to a Twins baseball game. In fact, tonight's game and for games the rest of this week and next week. And if you're interested in attending a Twins game, compliments of the Healing Circle of Conversations with Al McFarlane, all you got to do is make a comment in the comment section and we'll find you. You can comment on whichever platform that you're on. If you're on Twitter, if you're on LinkedIn or Facebook, leave a comment, but have your comment, whatever it is you want to say, start with the word baseball. And that way we know that you're interested and you might be a person that's able to get a couple of tickets to the Twins and Cardinals, I believe, playing right now here in downtown. With that, let me begin by inviting Dr. B to come on. And we've got a way to start our program that sets the intention. Dr. B, good afternoon, my friend. Good to see you. Now you have to unmute. You're muted.
Well, I shall not be muted.
That's right. Reclaim your time.
That's right. That's right. So I just want to say thank you and welcome to our viewers today. It's so exciting to every Friday have this safe place to just breathe and relax and talk about things. So as we engage in the Healing Circle today, I'm just going to invite the audience and us just to stop for a moment and just take a deep breath and just be present and let it out. Doing it one more time. Looking on the left of you, looking on your right, looking behind you, noticing you're safe all around. And in this safe space, this is where you are free to feel, to heal, to learn, to teach, and to grow. In this circle, we stand on our elders' shoulders and we honor them. And because they worked, prayed, and hoped our way into existence. And in this circle, as an African people, we know that there's no top or bottom, no beginning or end. Everyone in the circle has equal access to the space of power, which is the center, that voice. In the circle, we also honor our ancestors, because those were the shoulders our elders stood on. And we are so grateful that they exist and continue to exist in spirit with us. And we honor our elders and our ancestors, especially our ancestors, because they are closest to our Creator. And in this space, we honor all that is, all that has been, and all that will be. In this circle, we act in an orderly manner. We use a talking stick. So if we were in a space together, we would just pass the talking stick around. And whoever wants to talk, they can ask for the stick and we'll hand it to them. But as you can see, we're using a virtual talking stick. So today we ask the audience to join us in this circle and make comments and ask questions. You'll get the stick eventually and we'll get it to you. So with that said, I'll pass the talking stick to Baba Al. Here you go, Baba Al.
Thank you, Dr. B. Let me bring Dr. Oliver Williams in. Dr. Williams, so good to see you as always. And
Good to
thank
see
you
you,
for
brother.
your wisdom, leadership, guidance. What's on your mind this morning?
Well, I've been watching the Democratic convention all week, and each day was better than the day before. And it filled me with hope and possibilities. And I really do think she's ready to be president. And, I've been thinking this with regard to Joe Biden. He wanted to be president for a long time,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
but he came on at the right time. And to make a connection with Barack, but also to make the connection with Kamala. And she really did a good job with her acceptance speech, but so did Tim Walz.
Mm-hmm.
So I was very hopeful. All the speakers, Obama and Michelle and Kamala and Tim and Bill and Hillary, they were all wonderful in making the right case, and is to me very different than the Republican convention. And to have people who are articulate and can be very specific about things, rather than someone who is meandering and kind of not making sense when he does have an opportunity to talk about things. He's so vague.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't want to answer questions. And I think he doesn't want to answer them because I'm not sure he can. So so that's what's been on my mind. I'm feeling hopeful, but I hope the messages gets out to the public. And so
Well, uh, Dr. Oliver, that's a wonderful segue. Let me introduce you to someone that's going to really, I think, impress you. I'm being impressed as I'm looking over her resume and excited to meet her. Haley Taylor Schlitz is with us here, and her bio says she's a history maker, because she's an attorney, she's an educator, an author, a public speaker, and a respected thought leader on the issues students of color face in navigating gifted and talented programs in our public schools. In 2024, Haley joined the office of Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison as an Assistant Attorney General in the Public Safety Division. Now, she spent the last few years of her life pursuing education excellence. In May of 2022, Haley became the youngest Black American and the youngest woman to ever graduate from law school in the history of the United States.
What?
I'm gonna let you sit with that for a minute. I'm gonna say it again. In May of 2022, Haley became the youngest Black American and the youngest woman to ever graduate from law school in the history of the United States. So in 2016, at the age of 13, she graduated from high school and started her undergraduate education at Tarrant County Community College's Northeast Campus. 1 year after first year at Tarrant County Community College, she applied and was accepted to over 15 undergraduate institutions as a transfer student. Her acceptances included Xavier to their pre-med program, Oklahoma State's Honors College, Spelman College, University of Texas at Dallas, Grambling State University, Tuskegee University, Bard College at Simon's Rock, the Early College, Texas Women's University, and many others. She chose to attend Texas Women's University because she embraced the university's stated purpose to educate a woman and empower the world. Her concern about the lack of diversity in our nation's gifted and talented programs and her own experience of being denied multiple times to be tested for the program in public schools influenced her in selecting a major in interdisciplinary studies within Texas Women University's College of Professional Education. She's the youngest graduate on record from Texas Women's University.
Wow.
It doesn't end there. While at TWU, she continued her strong commitment to leadership and public service. She was elected to TWU's Student Senate as a representative of the College of Professional Education. As a student senator, she led the effort to rewrite and strengthen TWU's Student Government Association Constitution and the Student Senate's bylaws. Additionally, she led the fight in the Student Senate to build a coalition to publicly support DACA students, that's immigration students who are seeking to remain here. At the age of 14, well, that was 13. maybe it was more than that, but it says at the age of 14, she was selected as one of 15 students for the Representation Project's Global Youth Advisory Council. In this role, she helped create and lead campaigns to engage youth on addressing social stereotypes women face in our world. She's also active in community and public discussions, public policy discussions. She ran for and was elected as the youngest delegate ever to the Texas Democratic Party convention. Her activity in local, state, and national politics led to her serving as the speaker to introduce Senator Kamala Harris at a public event in Tarrant County. In 2019, she decided that a legal education would help her pursue her passion to make positive change in our world. She applied to and was accepted into 9 law schools, including the SMU Dedman School of Law, Texas Tech University School of Law, Howard University School of Law, University of Houston Law Center, Southern University Law Center, Texas Southern University Thurgood School of Law, St. Mary's University School of Law, University of North Texas, Dallas College of Law, and the University of Arkansas, Little Rock, William H. Bowen School of Law. She chose to attend SMU Dedman School of Law. And she says she's thankful for the scholarship support she received from Black Women Lawyers Association of Tarrant County and the Texas Young Lawyers Association. I normally don't read this much of bios, but I'm going to read this one because it's so impressive. So bear with me. You won't be disappointed. In June of 2020, she was elected to serve as a delegate for Vice President Joe Biden at the Democratic National Convention. She's one of the youngest people elected to serve as a DNC delegate in 2020. In 2023, she joined State Representative Retta Bowers in celebrating the signing into law House Bill 567 called the Texas Crown Act. Haley has worked as part of the grassroots team since 2020 to organize support for Crown Act legislation. We have that here in Minnesota as well. On February 15th, 2020, Haley officially joined the Sisterhood of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated. Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority was founded by 7 educators at Butler University in November 12th of 1922. She proudly followed her mother's legacy into Sigma Gamma Rho and is committed to the organization's mission. She's a member of Alpha Pi Sigma chapter of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority in Fort Worth, Texas. So after graduating law school, she took an impact year and served as a 5th grade U.S. history teacher at Fort Worth, Texas. She's also a member of the American Federation of Teachers, Local 9000. She deeply believes in the right to organize and collectively bargain. She learned these lessons early on in life and proudly stands up for working men and women of our nation. In 2024, Mayor and City Council of Forest Hill, Texas, in 2024, the Mayor and City Council of Forest Hill, Texas appointed Haley to serve as Place 4 Commissioner on the city's Planning and Zoning Commission. Haley also continues her work to continue an inclusive democracy by serving as a member of Emerge America's Young Leaders Cabinet. Well, that is so much now. Haley, first of all, welcome to the conversation. Welcome to the Healing Circle. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm just impressed with you, and so glad to meet you. I've read that. Now you tell me about you. And you're here today on a political mission. We've invited you to talk about the Harris Biden campaign. So I want to focus or move to that direction. But tell me more about you yourself.
Yeah, no, I mean, I appreciate you reading my bio. It definitely captures a lot of like the landmarks in my journey. I graduated law school when I was 19, 2 years ago in 2022. And I was a teacher. And now, as you said, I'm with the Attorney General's office in the Public Safety Division practicing law. So it's just been a wonderful move to Minnesota. I moved up here for a plethora of reasons, which we'll probably get into since we're going to have a political discussion today. But yeah, no, it's been a wonderful move. It's been very welcoming. My sorors have been very welcoming. I was part of Jack and Jill's, so there's moms up here who have been just very present and supportive. It really has been a wonderful move, both for my career, but also just for my network, for my community. I've loved it up here.
Well, you heard Dr. Williams express his hope for what's unfolding now, what unfolded with the DNC. And you've been at the DNC as a delegate. So tell us about what that experience is like from your history there and what you observed and felt unfolding this current week that ended in the nomination and the acceptance of the nomination by Vice President Kamala Harris.
You know, when I was there, it was very busy. That's what I was young. I was 13. So it was, I didn't really know what to expect when I was going in there. I had never been to one, and certainly not as a delegate. So it was very educational, but also it was a lot. There was a lot going on, a lot of different rooms, a lot of different discussions, but all very important. And it was very inspiring to be in that space and see the work that's getting done, be part of the conversation, be at the table. And, you know, what you said with, you know, Vice President Kamala Harris, it really does. I feel that same hope, you know, but just tenfold. I loved her acceptance speech. It was very dynamic, very truthful. And it was very true to not only who she is and what her campaign stands for, but also very true to our nation and the history of it. And just as stewards of the legacy that's been passed down to us as a member of Gen Z, but also as all the living generations, it's a point in history that's going to be in history books. We're living in history. And I think sometimes it's so easy to not connect that, you know, the eyes of history are on us, watching what we do. This could be a chapter. And it's so exciting, you know, and I don't know, you could probably tell that it's just like the smile on my face when I was watching the image that's circulating of her niece looking up at her. That represents all Black girls looking up at her. She really is a beacon of hope and an image of the fact that, you know, being president is a Black job, like Michelle Obama said. And I'm super excited to see her hold that title. And, you know, being in Minnesota now, love that Governor Tim Walz is going to be vice president. What you were saying earlier, Dr. Williams, it really is a wonderful campaign. They're wonderful people. And I've had the opportunity to meet both of them and talk with them. I'm just so excited for what the future holds.
You guys jump in wherever you want to. I've got a gazillion questions. So Dr. Williams, Dr. B, interrupt whenever you want to and raise questions or make comments or give us feedback. But Haley, two questions. One is, so why did you come to Minnesota? Number one. Number two, three questions. So you're 22 now, 23? Is that?
I am 22.
22. Okay, so that's not a question. It's an answer. But the other question is, I want to know when you discovered who you are. You obviously have a sense of being that is rocking real for you, and you're demonstrating that. I think Kamala Harris said last night when where she grew up or somewhere she was, when somebody, she said, don't let anybody tell you who you are. You show up and show them who you are. You, I think, are the poster child for that idea. You're showing up and showing who you are. So when did you know who Haley
Yes.
Taylor Schutz is?
That's a wonderful question. Going back to where you started with moving to Minnesota, you know, there were a couple different reasons when I found out I passed the bar, knowing the work I want to do and the impact I want to make and the political climate in Texas, especially as a Black woman, from the Crown Act and discrimination on our actual DNA to reproductive rights and abortion practically being outlawed. It was just very hostile, and I knew that I couldn't advance and make the impact that I wanted to working for the Attorney General or whoever in Texas. So, firstly, I was looking to expand and move. So I was already on that level and that playing field of where can I go to take the next step in my career. And then when the opportunity to work with Attorney General Keith Ellison arrived, I just saw it as the stars aligning. You know, like I said, I passed the bar. I have the opportunity to practice law. I want to. The work I want to do is the work that Keith Ellison has been doing, continues to do. Amazing work. It felt like an opportunity, a door that opened, a sign, if you will. And then also I have a couple of family ties to Minnesota. My dad, my grandpa, and my uncle are all huge Viking fans, actually. So I've been up here a couple times, you know, since I was young, just coming to the Viking games in the old stadium and just, you know, watching it on TV and all of that. So when I was looking for a place that, you know, a home away from home, there were only a couple states that I could call to see what was there. So like I said, it's been very welcoming. The community here has been very welcoming. So it was the right move, a wonderful move. And to answer the second part of your question, I think that I can say that I truly knew what my life's purpose was or what I wanted to do with my time here when I was around 14. I was in undergrad, and my mother is actually an emergency medicine physician. And so I wanted to be that for the longest time, just looking up to her. I was like, you know, I want to be just like you when I grow up. But so I majored in chemistry when I first started. So for about a year and a half of my 3 years in undergrad, I was a major in chemistry. And it was going great. I love chemistry. Like to this day, I love math, science, and just the way that your mind thinks when you're in those spaces. But I did a lot of reflection on how I ended up in the area, in the space, in the room that I was in. I was very fortunate to have parents who didn't take no for an answer when the public schools said that I couldn't be tested for the gifted and talented program, and didn't sit and hope or, you know, they even noticed in the first place that I wasn't getting the services that I needed in the school that I was at. And the biggest reason that was the case is because I was a Black girl. And there's so many examples, so many stories of we were learning about the civil rights movement in 5th grade when I was in public school, or the Civil War. And they called it the War of Northern Aggression. So that's already a tell. And then they had me as like the role, basically. They split the class into the Northern family and the Southern family. So great idea. And then they gave me the role of the mulatto slave girl. So, you know, just the messages you're sending to children, me and the rest of the class, not to mention it shows where you are in the microaggressions and macroaggressions I was facing as a student in that classroom, in that city. My parents decided to pull me out. And I did a college style school instead, which is where you go to a school with kids and families and all of that, teachers and all of that for 2 days a week, and the rest of the time you're at home. So kind of like a semi-homeschool. And in the South, homeschooling is being increasingly used by families of color as a means of survival. And that's what my family did. And to get back to where I was when I was 14 and in undergrad, I did a lot of reflection on how fortunate I was to have parents who noticed all of what I said, who cared, and who had the means to say no to what was happening and pull me out and do alternate education and homeschool me. And how many students don't have that? How many parents don't know or don't care or can't care and can't do anything about it? How many families, how many future leaders and problem solvers and critical thinkers are we overlooking and doing a disservice to? And so I switched my major to education so I could go into education policy and practice law. So I think that's where really that mind shift was for me of this is what I want to do after my experiences. And there's a lot that goes into that, from voter registration to gun violence. There's so many things that interconnect with my passion and my drive and my direction, but that's definitely where it rooted from. So I think, to answer your question, that's kind of where I realized, like, this is who I want to be. This is who I am. This is where I want to go with it.
We opened up with our ceremony that looks at and recognizes elders and ancestors.
Yeah.
And the notion is that we're standing on people's shoulders. So you mentioned mom as a doctor. Tell me
Yeah.
about your dad, and then talk about the lineage. What pours into the Haley Taylor Schlitz that I'm looking at right now? What is it from the beginning
Yes.
to now as you see it? And name some of the people that
Yeah.
are part of that lineage.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back generations as it is for all of us. My great grandmother, Margaret, she was in Texas and actually decided to pursue her American dream and moved to California when she was 16, just packed a bag and moved across the country. And this is obviously before a time with the technology we have today. So it was a very big life decision for her to do that at 16. And that trailblazer, that confidence, that power has poured into my grandmother. My grandmother was a nurse, and just the great tree of our family. At her funeral, I read the poem "When Great Trees Fall" by Maya Angelou. She just is just the foundation of who I am, who my mother is, and really where we stem from. And because of her, we are where we are. And as I said, and you said earlier, my mom, she's an emergency medicine physician, and she has always been a role model for me, not only as a Black woman, of course, but just as a person. Her morals, her education, her drive, it's always been something I look up to. And every day, my motivation is to make her proud and live up to what she imagines for me. And on my dad's side, he, like I mentioned, my uncle and my grandfather earlier, huge Viking fans. They live in my grandfather lives in Montana now, so I've gotten closer to him in physical proximity, which is great because I haven't seen him in a minute. So just kind of coming from the two sides of America, my mother being my mother's side coming from the American nightmare, a descendant of slaves, kidnapped and dragged here, and then on my father's side, they came through Ellis Island seeking the American dream, and being the crossroads of that, and just kind of understanding what that signifies, what that means, and how many people are just like me and in their ancestry, where just like Kamala Harris, her mother immigrated here. It really is a story that you carry with you, and a weight, but not in a bad way. Obviously, you're carrying on a torch, a story. And to be there, the manifestation of their wildest dreams is something that I strive for every day. And my dad, which I haven't gotten into yet, he is very huge in the political realm. He is a campaign manager. So a lot of the people who are elected down in Texas right now are because he ran their campaign, from State Board of Education to State House, City Council, commissioners, even nationally, National Congress, Senate, things like that. He has been involved in their campaigns and ran them to victory. And I grew up actually in a household, thanks to him, with very strong morals, very strong direction in what is right and what is wrong. And he actually worked for AFME when I was growing up too. So I've been on the picket line since I was 3, and just being able to grow up and see that side of the world as well. My mom being in STEM and a huge, just supporter and push for education and making sure that it serves me as a Black girl. And then my dad, showing me like, this is how you can use your voice, and these are the areas that I have experience in, and the connections that I have that I can connect, pass down to you, and to be a manifestation of their experiences, of their drive and their beliefs. It really is. Sometimes I get asked like, what motivates you? What pushed you to do all of this? Maybe so fast or so young. Firstly, I tell them, it wasn't fast for me. It's exactly where I needed to be. So you wouldn't ask maybe a second grader, like, what pushes you to be in second grade? Because for you, that's normal, so in your mind, what's normal, you wouldn't inquire about like that. But my story being accelerated compared to most people, I get asked like, what makes you go so fast? But it really was just where I needed to be. It was just my on level, like my grade level. So it wasn't that it was fast, but for me. But the reason why I had the opportunity to accelerate in the first place is because of my parents. So that's who's poured into and created this me.
Oh, wonderful.
I love it.
Dr.
Let me jump. Please, please, please. I'm just so excited to. First of all, Haley, I don't know if you know, but at this minute, you are owned by the whole village. I'm claiming you as my own child because I'm so proud. I'm so proud of you and what you're bringing. You're bringing it to the table, and so one of the things when you were talking about gifted and talented, it made me think about. I'm a psychologist, and one time I went to consult at a very, very expensive, rich part of town. They wanted me to look at their students and the special ed department and stuff. So I went to the special ed, and everybody in special ed was Black except one. Then I went to the gifted and talented class. Everybody in there was white except one. So at the end of the day, when we were having the debriefing, I said, I'm really concerned. First, I said this blew them off. I said, I'm really concerned about that special ed class. And they kind of said, oh, this lady fixing to tell us we're racist. And you could just hear the air leaving. They're like, huh. And I said, I'm just wondering what's happening to all the white kids who need special ed services. Then they freaked out. Then I went on, and then I'm also concerned about gifted and talented. What about all the Black kids that need gifted and talented? So we had a long discussion because their cognitive schema was so warped that they couldn't see one of our children arrive. I have so many stories, like a young Black woman I was seeing, high school student, when they started doing some serious busing. She had been in a private school. I don't know what is the name of it? One of them here. And anyway, she had gone to another public school. Now, this is the first time. They put all the Black kids, guess where they put them? In special ed. They assumed that she didn't know anything, not knowing that she was in this Breck. She was in Breck, kicking butt, making A's. And then all of a sudden, they think she needs to be in special ed. So there's so much pushed on you in your racialized body. You might be light skinned, you might be dark skinned. That doesn't matter, because when you come across as a Black girl, people start projecting things onto you. So I have, okay, that's my context. How have you managed to keep this light that you share so beautifully and brightly, having been, I know you've been in those systems, not just because of your ethnicity or your gender, your age. What has it been like for you? If I were to walk with you and to hear that story, what has kept you with your light, honey? Tell us about that part.
Yeah, I think that really is a wonderful question. I often find myself turning to my village when things get difficult, when I don't know what to do. It's always pick up the phone and call my mom. Go over and see my dad and ask what do you, with your wisdom and with your life experience, how would you approach this? What do you have to say? You've never led me wrong. What would you do in this situation? And so I definitely think that relying on your village, people who understand your experience and only have the best intents for you with no expectation of anything in return, those are the people you can trust. and those are the people that, you know, you should lean into and rely on. And so that's what I've often done. And I didn't even when I didn't realize that that was something I should or wanted to do when I was in 5th grade, and just like, okay, well, I'm just, you know, I'm 10, I'm just here to go to school, I guess, you know. And my parents saw that there was an issue, noticed that my grades were dropping, and not because I needed special education, but because I was an overlooked, gifted, and talented student who was not being engaged by the content. So didn't honestly care. And so when it came time to do the test, I wasn't the student who had studied and was, you know, like excited or whatever. I didn't care about education or about lessons or learning the way I did before. And so even when I didn't realize that I needed someone to look out for me, I didn't realize the nuances of how being a Black girl, a young Black girl, you know, impacted my experiences. My parents were there for me. My village was there for me. So that's like definitely what I've always leaned on. And even as a teacher, you know, it's funny that you bring that up, because when I was a teacher, I taught 5th grade and I taught other grades as well, but 5th grade is what I taught the longest. And at the school that I had, they had a special education program, of course, but they didn't even have a gifted and talented program. And in my opinion, in this school that was majority minority in a underserved community, it was so reflective of what they thought the students were even capable of. We don't even offer gifted and talented services. We don't even think that anyone here would need that. And to be a GT student and now a teacher, to see the students who needed that, to see the students who were so excited. In 5th grade, you're still excited about education, about school, about tests and learning and things. And to know that there's such a, like, there's so much potential that they go to 6th, 7th, 8th grade and don't care about education anymore and shift their focus to popularity or shift their focus to other things because they were overlooked, and how like deflating that is. And so for me, I use that as motivation, because I think back anytime I'm doing work, anytime something gets hard for me personally, someone's being discriminative, or I see something that's said online, or, you know, some events in the news, I think back to my students, and I remember during dismissal, when we waited for their parents to pick up, giving them advanced lessons. Going out of my way to create extra lesson plans and extra tests just so that they had something that they cared about, that they were interested in, and to know that, you know, that hopefully sparked something in them. Because I had students who came into my classroom on the first day of school, and I was the history teacher, the social studies teacher, which is a fascinating thing to be in Texas right now. But for them to come from their English classroom, and he came in and he showed me his essay, and it was like about me. It was like the first day or whatever. So they were like getting to know each other, and they wrote an essay in their English class about me, like that, just, you know, tell your stories. That way everyone can introduce themselves. And in his essay, he wrote something along the lines of, I'm not very smart, or I've never been, you know, very good at school, or I'm dumb, or something. And I read it, and I hadn't met this student yet. Like, he had went to English before he came to my classroom. Like, it was only, this is like day 2, I guess. So I had seen him like one time. So, you know, I was still getting to know their face to name and all of this. So when I was talking to him and I read his essay, I looked at him and said, your work is hanging on my wall. What are you talking about? And it wasn't, I didn't know this student. So it wasn't like I was putting his work on my wall to make him feel better or to motivate him. Genuinely, his work was just he was one of the best social studies students I had. And he ended up getting social studies student of the year at the end of the school year at graduation. And the way he had straight A's the whole school year, and just that he looked at me and he was like, really? Where? And so I took him outside to tell him, like, this is you, right? I'm thinking in my head, I hope I didn't just tell the student that he was outside, like, because I'm still getting to know them. I'm like, this is you, right? And he's like, yes. It's just that's the kind of thing that pushes me, leaning on my village, but also knowing why I'm doing this work in the first place, knowing that I was this student at one point, and to have taught and see, like, have my boots on the ground and see the work that I want to do, how it would materialize, the students it would impact, that also keeps me pushing, even when I face barriers or struggles, or I see, you know, horrible things in the news. It's what keeps me motivated.
Wow. Thank you, Haley. Oh, I love that answer. So Dr. Oliver, do you want the talking stick? I can hand it to you. But I know I'm
Well,
not giving a moment to jump in. So
I'm speechless, and it's interesting to me that you can um, observe yourself at the same time. Sounds like you have people who would normally be your peers, age-wise, and that you can reflect and also experience it simultaneously. So that's interesting to me, and trying to figure out what your work will be, because you're evolving still, and it'll be interesting to see, what you choose to do in the future. I was thinking about, I was going to comment earlier about my sister. I grew up in Detroit too. Keith graduated or grew up in Detroit. I'm a little older than Keith. I know some of his neighbors, but my sister was asking me about Tim Walz and said, "What do you think about him?" And I said that think he's a great governor. I said I feel sad for Minnesota, but happy for the country for what he's going to bring.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. One thought that I had is this, that I hope the whole country saw or could get access to what we saw this week in the Democratic convention. And then that, to me, would help us have more insight to what the United States can be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead, Haley.
No, you can go.
Well, I'm going to actually pivot a little bit here. I am so pleased and so impressed, and I want you to spend some more time before we leave talking about the campaign. But I want to bring another voice in the conversation. It's a turn in the conversation. I think she's here, Jana Reed. Jana, are you still here? There she is.
I'm here.
So Jana is a new friend of mine, a new, I could call her a neighbor because I met her in the neighborhood of the Marcus Garvey house. She came by and wanted to alert me to some things going on in her life with her children, or child, I believe. And so I invited her to show up here to come to the Healing Circle and have the advantage of connecting and telling the story to Dr. Williams and Dr. B and to the rest of the world, because that's what we are doing here, is connecting with each other. So Jana, welcome to the conversation. Thank you for being here. And I just want to introduce you as a person who I have met who's concerned about her responsibility as a parent and for our community. So Jana, tell your story. Why
Yes.
did we connect?
Yes, thank you guys for having us on your show today. We're basically in the point in our lives where us Black mothers are taking our children into the hospitals and we're treated inhumanely. We're looked at as the abusers and not the protectors, because we're choosing to provide alternative medicines and or holistic approaches that show that they are working for our children. And during a CHIPS case, we're also dismissed. It's basically the medical professionals against the mother, the birth mother. The bond that you share with your child does not matter. What you've been doing and how you care for your children does not matter during a CHIPS case. To my knowledge, that's why the African American Preservation Act was passed. However, it does not go into effect until 2026. So there's something that needs to be implicated before that goes into effect, because it seems like taking Black children is the primary focus right now before the bill gets passed.
You use the phrase CHIPS. Let's do some basic education, because people might not understand the acronym.
The terminology, yes. So
Mhm.
CHIPS means a child in need of protection services from Hennepin County. It's basically where they build up a case to see what services you need, and also they're supposed to help you reunify you with your children. However, there's two sides to that system, and it's really unfortunate that we're dismissed and our civil rights are being violated during that process.
How does a family become under the radar or engaged with uh, CHIPS, with child? Oh, yeah, give me the name again.
A child in need of family
Okay.
protection, or
Is that what's commonly called Child Protection Services?
yes,
Same
yes.
thing. Okay.
And it's basically when a medical professional or a mandated reporter makes a complaint or files something against the parent and or something involving the child, which in my case, my son was medically cleared. However, they still felt like CPS should be involved.
Do you want to tell the story of your child or not? You don't have to, but if you feel like it, you're welcome to
Oh,
share.
my 4-month-old son fell off the bed. He suffered a brain injury. However, I would say the way that their brain is wired, they're not understanding that accidents can happen. That's all I can really say at the time.
Sure, that's fine. And don't say
Yeah,
more than you
legal
need to say.
issues. Yeah.
But that led to an assessment that questioned your ability to maintain custody of your child. Is that it or not?
Yes, yes, and
Okay.
provide medical care for them as well.
Okay. And so to the degree that you can tell us, where does that case stand at the moment? And if you don't want to do details, I really respect that. But you can talk about generalities, things that you and others feel like they're experiencing, just to educate the viewers and listeners.
Well, from what we're experiencing is taking our children out of our care without proven that we are the neglectful parent or we're not taking the necessary care seriously. It's kind of just hearsay, she say from the medical professionals, and then you have your standpoint as a parent, and bringing your child to the hospital it shows that you're a concerning parent and that you've been doing everything you needed to do to get your child care. I just feel like the American Preservation Act, it would really help in cases like this, because it wouldn't be to the point to where our children were removed out of our care. They would simply come in, do an investigation, and give us the services we need. It wouldn't be a pre-long or anything that leads to terminating your parental rights.
Because the potential for termination of parental rights looms so large, I would imagine that some parents are discouraged from coming forward for help when they need help, deserved help, and could get help. But if they have conflictedness around, if I show up, are they going to say I have failed and that I am incapable, and are they going to take my child from my house? Is that a situation that properly describes the quandary the parents find themselves in?
Yes. Thank you for explaining that. That's basically what I was trying to say. It's more so I need help, but am I going to be the one to be accused? Am I going to get the right help? We can't go in the hospital and say, well, accidents happened, and it seems as if we're treated as the primary suspect, even though we're the ones advocating for the child and saying, well, this is what happened. I turned my back. And it just seems like accidents can't happen while they're in the care of a Black mother.
Can I jump in here? Because I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
I've seen a lot of these cases. I'm a psychologist, as I said earlier. And at the African American Child Wellness Institute, we have a program called Project Marua, Premeditated Parenting Boot Camp. And the boot camp isn't for kids, it's for the parents, because the parents are fighting the battle to save their children's lives. And it sounds like you would be a good one, because let me explain to you what I'm hearing. Did you know that in the state of Minnesota, there are 2 forms that you can fill out before you ever get engaged with child protection. One is called a DOPA, Delegation of Parental Authority. Another one is called, that's right, standby petition. And the DOPA doesn't require an attorney. The standby petition, I think you may have to get it. Some of them require that you get them notarized. But according to the law, they say that if child protection wants to take your child, that having that document mandates that they have to give the child to whoever you say. So if you want them to stay with their grandma, if you want them to stay with their dad or their aunt or uncle, or even a pastor, wherever you want your child to be, if they're not with you, you delegate that, and they can't keep them and put them somewhere else. And I don't know, did they talk to you at all about that, the right to have that in advance? Or did you hear about it afterward?
No, ma'am. I just found out about it yesterday, and I asked my legal representation about it, and she was saying that it's too late in the case because the judge feels like once the DOPA comes into play, the whole case is dismissed, and the DOPA form is only valid for a year. So they feel like at any given point, you can just void the contract or the documentation and just get your kids back. But I did not know anything about the standby petition, and I will look further into that as well.
Yeah, and so the reason I bring this up is that the issue about child protection is that Black folks, I think we're only, is it 6 or 12% of the whole state, but we represent 45%. 45%, thank you, 45% of the people who go to child protection. And it's because when they see us, the child protective workers, they have discretionary or mandated rulings that they can do. And when Black people step into the scene, I'd say 75% of the Black folks who get child protection cases, they fall in the discretionary category. And they find that 75% of the white people who get in child protection, they are people who are mandated by law to be in child protection. So the discretion or the implicit bias of putting Black folks in child protection versus white folks in child protection is very blatant. And I want to tell you, sister, there are ways to fight. And I think that what you're doing is wonderful. You fight. And you remember that song, Won't He Do It? You need to stop saying that every day. Won't He do it?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm serious. So I just want to put that out there, because what we need to do is educate our community that our kids go through discrimination in all of these systems: medical, education, right?
Yes.
All of these systems: child protection, foster care, jail, criminal justice. So parents have to learn to fight like beforehand. And one of the best allies are teachers, because when kids get into school, that's when folks start reporting stuff. I'm just saying.
I heard that too during this time. I said, "Oh God, I hope not."
Yeah, so you got to be ready.
I have enough right here.
That's right. You got to be ready, sister. You got to be ready.
Right.
Well, I'm trying to figure out, not trying to, but I'm looking at what I think is the link, the connecting the dots. And the dot connects from being a gifted young person who's not recognized, whose systems don't want to recognize or support, being a family with a gifted person who experiences an inability of the social structure to accord that family the benefit of assets, tools, and resources that it affords others. I'm seeing the dot connecting, Dr. B, to your observation in the special ed class. Where are all the white people, right? And on the other hand, where are all the Black people in the gifted class? And I'm seeing that connection that asks me to question who's running the show, who's making the rules, and who has the authority to judge. And if you tell me it's the person whose history
Mm.
allowed the removal of Indian children from their homes
There we
and
go.
placed in the care of church and other private out-of-home placement resources
Mhm.
with the avowed mission of killing the Indian
The
so that
savage.
killing the savage so the person could survive. If that's the cultural context for decision makings, we got a big problem. And
Yes,
that
we do.
problem is pervasive and expansive and in every element, every level, every layer of our culture and our community. And it seems to me, Haley Taylor, that what we are all about right now is understanding the power of this moment to make massive, meaningful systemic change. Haley, what do you think?
No, I mean, I think that what you just said and Dr. V as well, what you guys were saying really does hit the nail on the head. You know, after hearing Jonna's story, I'm just sitting here thinking, this is why diversity is so important. If we had doctors who are culturally competent because there's diversity, our voices are heard at the table, they understand where you're coming from, and those microaggressions and macroaggressions are minimized when you have that diversity. And it starts young. You don't create a doctor in undergrad. It starts young. It starts in elementary school. It starts with diversifying our teacher workforce. So that way, I mean, because there are studies that show just one Black teacher increases a student's likelihood of going to and graduating from college by like 7%, 10%. And two, I mean, I think it's 13, and then two jumps up to like 23%. Like it's insane, because when you see it, you can be it. And that's the power of also President Kamala Harris. Like she would show Black girls all over the country just the Black girl magic, that the highest that our country has to offer is offered to us. We can take it. We can be that. We can strive to be our best. And that's because there's diversity representing a diverse country. And that impacts so many different things. It impacts, like I said, education and starting young, gun violence. And when I say gun violence, I don't just mean school shootings, which is incredibly, unfortunately, prominent and in need of addressing, but also I'm talking gun violence like against Black communities. My mother's father died, and the reason why he died in the Rodney King civil unrest is because he was shot. And he wasn't shot and killed on scene. He was shot, taken to the hospital, and wasn't seen for 12 hours. That's why she became a doctor. And something like that, you know, like going back to what Jonna was saying as well, the diversity in the physician workforce saves lives. It's not just, oh, well, you know, the diversity for the sake of. It impacts everyday people and what they get to experience, what their lives end up looking like. And that's why, like, coming from Texas, a very red state, to see how reproductive rights have been impacted by the lack of diversity in the workforce and at the table, and to see you know, like unions and how that's treated in Texas, and the environment and voters' rights and just all the things that, like, it's all interconnected. And that diversity to represent a diverse country, it really would help solve a lot of problems, because we talk a lot about pipelines. And I don't just mean like the school to prison pipeline, but I'm talking about pipelines that help counter that, pipelines that, you know, from elementary to doctor, elementary to engineer to lawyer, to diversify, to help solve the problems that we've heard Jonna talk about, to help solve the problems that we've talked about here and that we heard Kamala Harris talk about, and that it's just a discussion right now in our country. But we need pumps for those pipelines. You need something to push these kids through. You need something to push the citizens to help them and to educate them and to guide them. It's not as simple as just establishing a system. You need people who can help to shepherd that. And so that's why it's so important to have diversity in these different workforces. As a Black teacher, as part of that 2% of the teacher workforce that's Black, I understand how important it was. At the first school I taught at, I was the first and only Black teacher at that school, K through 12, 13 years running. first and only Black teacher, and they had hundreds of students, 0 Black students.
There you go.
0. It was a private school.
There you
And
go.
at the second school I taught, at a charter school, like I said, it was in an underserved community, and it was there, and so the primary student body was Black and brown. And to see the difference in when Black History Month rolled around or Hispanic Heritage Month rolled around, and to see how it was celebrated and acknowledged, and to understand that the students are seeing themselves in their teachers, seeing themselves as educated, seeing themselves as capable. And same with the presidency, seeing themselves in these positions and knowing that it's within reach. It's something that is a Black job. It's something that's there. It really is, like, and I think, like I said, to circle back to what you were saying, Mr. McFarlane, and then Dr. V and Jonna, I mean, that diversity really would have had a huge impact, and understanding that just cultural competence. So I echo it.
Listen,
Let me just jump on and say this last thing. I know our time's up, but she talked about we need something to prime the pump. One of the things we need to prime the pump with is voting. So we're sitting here, Jonna's talking about what happened with her. You're talking about what happened with you. I told you what happened with me. And if we don't vote and get others who hear our stories to vote, then we're not priming the pump. You know, we need some people who are making those laws look like you, Jonna. They need to look like
you. Yes.
Vote and stay engaged. Don't just vote and go home. Stay engaged afterward. Make sure that you're following up with your representatives, like things like book banning and LGBTQ rights. Like, those things are on the table on local elections. Vote down the ballot too.
I also feel like that. Sorry,
Dr. Oliver, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to make this one comment before we shut down.
And then John, last thing. Go ahead.
Yeah, you know, I've been away from the child protection system for a bit. But I know that one of the things that they had in Minnesota was that they had advocates, and advocates from communities, from diverse communities. You may want to ask for an advocate.
Oh, I have one with MN Parent One Stop and Community.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, they're good.
Yes, but they're also experiencing some funding issues as well because of
You had another comment to make, Jonah.
Oh, yes, I was saying something.
Wait. Did you finish, Dr. Williams? Did you finish?
No, I was going to
go ahead and finish, Dr. Williams.
One point. One of the leaders of the who's a psychologist who passed away a few years ago. His name is James Jackson. And he was a person that started some really important work at the University of Michigan in terms of helping to prepare people who were scholars around the country, and particularly in communities of color. But he also helped to develop the Institute for Social Research at the University of Michigan. It happened to him and his children. His children spoke French. They'd go to Paris every year, where he was a faculty at one of the universities in France. And he had to figure out how to learn how to negotiate these things when they made assumptions about his children. They did the wrong thing. At any rate, what I'm saying is that it's a systemic problem that happens to us because we're from communities of color. And Haley, I'm glad that you had the experience that you had with the parents who were steadfast and working with you, but despite who you are, because we are people of color, we deal with those challenges. And Jonna, there have been things to come into the Minnesota system to try to correct some things. That being said, we still go through it and hang in there.
John, final word's going to be yours.
Yes. So I just wanted to say something about the voting. I just feel like more information needs to be available for, especially for my community, and actually getting the research and helping people understand the timeline, or how the vice president connects to the mayor, or I just feel like there needs to just be a little more information given out for us to show up at the polls. And that's something I will be working on for my community.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
Listen, what a great conversation. Jonathan, thank you so much. And just best wishes for you and your family. Keep the fight. Haley, impressed. We'll stay in touch. And Dr. B and Dr. Oliver, as always, great show. We'll see you next time. I'm Al McFarlane. Take care. Bye.
Thank you, guys.